What's going on, guys? Aljo here with FlytPath.com. Now, it's that time of year when everyone's starting to look for the best deals right now. Black Friday is around the corner, and DJI recently released what they're going to be having on sale, which include multiple drones as well as accessories. Now, DJI's Black Friday event starts November 18th. They're going to have some discounts on drones as well as accessories, but I also have 5 exclusive coupons, which will give you an additional 5% off on one of these drones. Stay tuned. I'll give you a little bit more information. In this video, I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about these top 5 compact drones here from DJI, let you know some of the pros and cons I feel about each one of these, give you guys kind of my real world experience with them, and I want to quickly go through them. I'm not going to go into every single type of detail and spec. I have videos on pretty much every drone here in a lot more detail. Here, I just want to give you my quick rundown of who I think the drone is for, some of the basic capabilities for it, and also what's the price coming up as far as this upcoming holiday season. And if drones interest you and you guys are into tech, drones, I do a lot of product and tech reviews here on this channel. Please consider subscribing. And if you guys haven't seen, there's a little join button down below. You guys can also join this channel as a member. There's going to be a bunch of perks that I'm working on right now exclusive for members. So if you want to check that out, hit that button down below. It gives you a little bit more information about it. Consider being a member of this channel. Now, if this is your first drone, I think this video is really for you because this is just giving you a little quick background based on my experience. I've had each one of these drones now since they came out. So I just want to tell you a little bit more about the pros and cons about each one of them and who I think they're for. If you're an existing drone operator or drone flyer, you might know a lot more details about each one of these. I'm not going to go into every single detail about it. It's really just a high-level overview. More than likely, if you've already owned one or you're flying one, then you kind of know the basics as far as what resolution you want, the capabilities of it, if you need specific types of functions or smart modes. So you can more than likely make that educated decision if you need to upgrade based on your current platform. And all of these, if used properly by the right operator that knows how to tell a great story, knows how to compose a shot, all of these are absolutely great platforms. You start getting into more spec details as you progress, as you get a little bit better, and you start needing specific types of features. I like to think of it as using something like a cell phone or a GoPro type of camera all the way up to like a point and shoot or even a small DSLR. Just because you have a higher end camera like a Mavic 2 Pro doesn't mean that your footage will automatically come out better, doesn't mean that your videos will come out cinematic or amazing. All of those things are really up to the operator to understand what type of filter you're going to use, what type of setting you're going to need, how to compose a shot, how to get a more dynamic type of aerial. So it doesn't really matter to an extent if you're using that Spark or all the way up to Mavic Pro. If you don't know how to compose a shot and really tell the story properly, then the platform doesn't really matter. People that can use cell phones or GoPros can make an amazing video that would blow some of these DSLRs or even higher end cameras out of the way because it's not the camera itself, it's pretty much the operator. I just really wanted to set that stage for it because I think a lot of people just get too caught up in the specs. These are all amazing platforms. So let's just get into it. I want to talk to you guys about 5 different drones, a little bit about the pros and the cons of each one of them. And maybe one of these might be right for you, and hopefully you guys get some good value out of it. Now what I'm going to do is talk about the pros and cons of each one of these and who I think they're for. And once you guys watch the video and you guys determine, oh, maybe I want to go with something like the Mavic Air, I would consider watching my playlist on the Mavic Air. That way it gives you a lot more research, a lot more education about this one, and gives you a lot better educated decision if you plan on going with a specific type of drone. I have playlists for each one of these. Make sure you guys check those out once you determine which direction you want to go into. Now the difference with something like this compared to those other ones that you might see on the shelf is that this one is actually in conjunction with DJI as well as Intel. So they're using Intel processing, but the biggest thing is they're using the DJI flight technology in this drone. And one of the really cool features of this tiny little pocket drone is that you're able to now hook this up to software called Scratch. You're able to do custom programming if you want to. And this one also has little flight modes where you're able to flip it over and do some tricks in the air. Now these types of real small lightweight toy drones are fun, and they're really only fun indoors. You want to make sure that you have these prop guards on here, because these are the types of drones that you just want to fly around the house. If you do fly it outside, which I probably don't recommend, if you have any gust of wind, this thing will start to really drift around and move, and it's really super light. Even though they can fly some distance, you want to fly these types of drones indoor. This is kind of made to take a beating, hit the walls, fall down, and it should be fine. Now, the one thing that's really good about this drone is it does have these sensors here at the bottom. And what these sensors do is it helps you maintain a hover. A lot of these other tiny, small drones like this on the market that you might see don't have something like this. And what it does is it helps you maintain a hover even if you don't have GPS locations. So all of these are really GPS based. This one, if you're flying indoors, of course, you're not going to have a GPS lock on it because it doesn't offer that mode. But what it does, it offers these sensors that help it stabilize in the air and kind of keep it in place as though it was GPS stabilized. You can actually program this thing to do specific types of things. One cool feature is, like I mentioned, this is all using your phone to control it. And on your phone, you're able to do swipe gestures, which would do, you know, front flips, back flips, and things like that. So if you want to have fun with it, like I said, this is the only one that can kind of do that. These don't do those little fun flip moves. So that's another good plus as far as, you know, these little toy drones that you're able to play with inside the home. Now, even though it does shoot 720 and it does shoot photos, the footage on here really isn't that usable as far as like maybe splicing this into an existing video. You know, it's really just there to use as a monitor or just to monitor your types of video that's coming off of the feed. The footage on here, there's no gimbal. There is a really small sensor on here. So, I mean, you are getting a 720p video output from this thing, which you're going to be using your phone to control this. You can also hook this up to a remote control. So you can also purchase a Bluetooth remote control to control it, to add a little bit more, you know, accuracy when you're flying it. But, you know, this is probably the only one I would say that you can probably just fly this off your phone, have fun with it, do some flips, and not worry too much about it when you're flying it inside your house. Now, as far as price goes, if you want to just do the Tello by itself, comes with one battery, it'll be $79, which is, I believe, is about 20 bucks off. But I'd recommend getting the boost combo, which adds a couple extra batteries for you, which you're going to need. The flight time is, like I mentioned, is pretty short. So you're going to want those extra batteries if you want to do some sort of, you know, flips and things like that. And that's actually 99 bucks, which is normally 149. So that is a DJI Tello. Make sure you guys check that out. Of course, all the links to all these products we'll be talking about are going to be down below. Next up, we have the DJI Spark. So let's talk about the pros and cons of the Spark, as well as what price is coming out for Black Friday. The Spark is really that next level up from the Tello because of the fact that, you know, it is a lot bigger. It can handle wind. This can be flown outdoors. And actually, I would recommend always flying this outdoors. I would not recommend now any of these other drones be flown indoors unless it's like an indoor area where it's like a warehouse or something and you're doing something specific for it. But I mean, as far as like toy drones go, even they're all kind of considered toy drones, would not definitely consider this a toy drone to fly indoors because this thing is really hard. The durability of this thing can take a beating. It is built like a tank. And the one thing I like about the Spark 2 is that the form factor at the time was really small, and it still is a very small drone. The one thing that, you know, everyone was wishing for was that they would, you know, be able to fold the legs in to make it a little bit smaller. But when it did come out, this was definitely one of the ones that was leading the industry as far as being like kind of the smallest drone that's still able to produce a quality image. Now, when the Spark came out, one of their marketing things was gesture control. So you're able to, you know, use your hands and gesture towards the drone to control it, to take a photo, to take a video, and things like that. Definitely, you know, kind of on the gimmicky side. You're going to use it once, see that it works, and then you're pretty much never going to use that gesture mode again. Cool feature. Some of the other ones that you might look into that it does offer, it even has active track, so you're able to track a subject. All you have to do is on the app itself, draw a little box and track the subject, and it'll fly and track the subject. As far as some of the cons go, the one thing that is you know, more of a downfall of this thing is that it is a 1080p video, which is great, but that's pretty much it. You can only shoot in 1080p at 30 frames a second. You don't have any other options as far as shooting options for video goes, so you're stuck at 1080p at 30 frames a second. Also, for photos, you're at 12 megapixel photos. And the one thing, it only has a 2-axis gimbal. So if you're not familiar with gimbals, basically this gimbal right here keeps your camera stabilized. If you plan on using this for like active track and you're following a subject and this thing has to whip around a little bit, then the footage really won't be as good as it is with one of these drones with a 3-axis gimbal. Another con of this is like flight time. So flight time is about 15 to 16 minutes, rated for 15 to 16 minutes. Realistically, you're gonna get maybe about 10 minutes or so with this type of battery. So all these smaller drones like the Spark, and I'm gonna talk to you about the Air and also the Tello, these are the ones you just have to have multiple batteries for. There's really not... It's not gonna be that fun when you're flying out there for only like 5 or 10 minutes and that's it. Then you have to sit there and charge again. At least these 3 for sure, you're gonna wanna get the combo pack, which has multiple batteries with it. Another thing too, this only shoots in JPEG, it does not shoot RAW. So if you're looking at using this as a photography drone, you are gonna be limited there. You're not able to have a RAW DNG file with all the information. It is gonna be a single JPEG file for you to do some of your post-processing on. So that's one of the downfalls also with the Spark. Now, who is this drone for? For me, I think of this drone as more of like my really fun backyard flyer. Now, in regular mode, this thing flies actually pretty slow. It actually is really slow in the air, but when you switch it over to sport mode, it's really fun. Kind of makes you feel like you're flying a little race drone. So for me, I would take something like this into the backyard or a park. Also because you don't want to fly this thing at great distances. This is all based off of Wi-Fi transmission. So distance wise, you're not going to get, you know, the crazy range you would with some of the bigger ones. This one I would probably keep in close proximity, mainly because this is just based off a Wi-Fi transmission. So you don't want to fly this out there and have it disconnect because of the Wi-Fi. You're going to want to keep this thing kind of close. I look at this thing as more of a fun sport mode, backyard or open park type of drone. And that is the DJI Spark. Now the Mavic Air is one of their most popular drones, mainly because they've taken what they learned from something like the Spark as well as the Mavic Pro, which I'll also talk about. Even though the Mavic Pro came out earlier than the Mavic Air, I still want to talk about as far as form factor goes, size-wise, I'm still going to talk about the Air first. What they've actually done is kind of combine the best features of the Mavic Pro as well as the Spark together because they're able to fold this up into a really compact drone. Now this little mini drone here is now actually size-wise is smaller than the Spark. It has a lot of the features of something like the Mavic Pro. So here we have a higher camera resolution. You're also able to shoot 4K. You're able to also shoot JPEG and RAW. And the one thing that's good is that it has a 3-axis gimbal, so you're able to get a lot smoother footage when you're shooting video because of this 3-axis gimbal right here. Now, the one thing that the Mavic Air introduced that the Mavic Pro did not have is called APAS, and it's really the sensing up front that allows this to be flown towards a subject, and when it senses that subject, it'll then automatically fly either around it or fly above it. Now, these are amazing features to have. I would just really highly recommend never just depending on these features, only because yes, they're there for safety reasons. That's the reason why they have, you know, backup sensors here, even bottom ones. But you never really want to always depend on the sensors alone. You know, it's very easy for these things to not be able to read a power line, a branch, and things like that. So, you know, I would really steer away from trying to think about those types of features as like the bigger selling features of these drones, mostly because a lot of them are there definitely to help you and avoid things, but at the same time you should really just understand your surroundings first and foremost, because a lot of times when you're flying these things you're not necessarily able to see where it is in space, which means even if it does have the sensors on there and you're flying at a pretty high you know, a high speed, these sensors more than likely won't necessarily work because of that speed you're flying at. So they're all great features to have if you're in more close proximity flying, but I would never really just depend on these features as like the main reason why you need to purchase one of these particular drones. So with the pros comes, of course, the cons of the Mavic Air. Now the Mavic Air is, even though it's very compact, it is probably the loudest drone as far as like the high-pitched squeal sound it makes. So if you're out in the middle of nowhere, Mavic Air would be fine because you're not going to bother anybody. If you're planning on flying this around your neighborhood, around other people, now this thing sounds literally like a pack of bees coming at you. So you just have to understand, you know, if you're purchasing a drone, where do you plan on flying it? If I'm going to go in my backyard and fly it, this thing is going to be really loud as far as being able to hear it amongst your neighbors. 21 minutes, of course, is, you know, what they rate it for, and that's under their conditions, under their testing. Realistically, 14, 15, maybe 16 minutes or so before you want to safely bring it back in. Another one of the cons of this drone is very similar to the Spark, and that is also it's based off of Wi-Fi. Now it is an enhanced Wi-Fi, so distance-wise you're able to get a lot more distance out of it, but at the same time it is still on a Wi-Fi signal, which means you may get some interference, very much like how the Spark is if you're in a heavy populated area where Wi-Fi signal might break up. As far as price goes, the Mavic Air is for sale for $699, which is $100 off. And that comes with the, the drone, remote, and some basic accessories. And I would recommend, of course, going with a combo for these smaller drones because of flight time. The combo is $899. You're gonna get a couple extra batteries for it, some other accessories. So I'll make sure all those, of course, are linked down below. But the Mavic Air, awesome kind of all-around drone. Now the Mavic Pro is pretty much DJI's, best-selling drone. I probably think of all time. And what the Platinum is it's just an enhanced version of the Mavic Pro, which it has updated electronic speed controllers as well as upgraded propellers here, which are a lot quieter. Mavic Pro kind of covers all the bases of what you're gonna need when you're out there, and almost all of the specs you're gonna want to have to get very, very high quality footage and high quality video out of something this small. Just for context, most of these all have the smart modes. They all have the intelligent flight modes. And like I mentioned, I'm not gonna go into all the details and all of those things because those are just features that you're gonna wanna understand a little bit more if you're gonna get into it a little bit more serious and trying to use every type of feature of it. Now, like I mentioned, the Mavic Pro is still probably the best drone that's on the market, and has set the bar for the past couple years, and people still can't even match what DJI has done with this drone, even with some of their latest drones. This is by far the quietest drone that you're gonna have amongst all of these, except for probably the latest and greatest Mavic 2. I've done sound tests on both of them, and they are very, very comparable. If you're going to be flying it around people at all, whether you're going to be doing it commercially or not, if you have the option to fly, the Platinum versus the Air, I am always going to take the Platinum, mainly because of the sound. Now, the Mavic Pro battery life in general is rated for about 30 minutes. So same thing, you're probably going to get about a good 24, 25 minutes of usable time. But that is a huge jump compared to something like the Air, where you're probably going to get about 15 minutes usable time, and the Spark maybe like 7 or 8 minutes usable time. I mean, you have a battery that can last you over 20 minutes up in the air. That's a lot of time, and that's the reason why, like, something like, if you're looking at doing this thing to take it up to a level of doing it, semi-professionally or professionally, at least I would say the Mavic Pro Platinum is where you want to be. But the biggest thing, like I said, I mentioned, it is super quiet. It is very compact. You're able to fold this up, stick this into your backpack the same way you are some of these other ones. But along with how quiet it is, the biggest seller for me is OcuSync technology, which is basically the transmission between your remote control and the drone. Now, I talked about the Spark and the Air. They both work off of Wi-Fi transmission, which means if you have a really good Wi-Fi signal between your remote and the drone, you should be good to go. You'll have, a good range, good distance on it. They're both rated for like a mile plus or so away, which is a super far distance. Realistically, you're never gonna wanna fly those distances, which means if you're rating it for a mile, I'm gonna max out, ideally in my head, wanna fly it for a third or half a mile. This thing is rated for 4 miles, which means now if I cut that in half, I could probably fly confidently for a mile or two without any issue, without any transmission issue between my drone and the remote control. The reason why I make that such a big deal, even though this thing is a couple years old versus some of these other ones, is that there is a comfortability factor up in the air. As a new operator, there's nothing more, frightening than when you're flying your drone and you're seeing a bad connection warning come up on your screen, or even worse, your screen goes black or blacks out. Something like this, where you have on the Mavic Pro and Mavic Pro Platinum, as well as a Mavic 2, as you have the OcuSync, and Mavic 2 actually has OcuSync 2 on there, which is even more reliable. But when you're flying out there and you're flying at a good distance, there's nothing more frightening than having, image loss, connection transmission issues. There's a reason why there is a shift in pricing when you start stepping up to these, and a lot of that deals with the transmission. Some of the cons that you have as far as the Mavic Pro Platinum go, the gimbal works well. It just feels a little flimsy. Still works fine, but you just have a gimbal that just seems like it's a little bit, not as strong as some of these other ones. Another con with going with something a little bit older is that you're not going to have the full sensors that you would on some of these other ones. You're not going to have the backup sensors. You're not going to have the top sensors like you are on the Mavic 2. Even though it's a con because it's a little bit older, not that big of a deal, not a deal breaker for me to not have that whole 360 sensing. Who is this for and what's the price of it? The Mavic Pro Platinum definitely is one of the ones I would say if you are an experienced photographer or experienced videographer and you had to say what would be my baseline drone, I would probably lean towards the Mavic Pro Platinum over some of the other ones because of those 3 reasons. Now, as far as price goes, for Black Friday, DJI is offering this drone at $999 for the drone itself with remote. There's a Fly More combo, which offers you a couple extra batteries for $1299. And the one thing, like I mentioned earlier in my video, I actually have additional coupons for the Mavic Pro Platinum, which will give you an extra 5% off that purchase of a Platinum. I only have 5 coupons. I will leave those coupons in this video as well as down below. First 5 to use them basically will enjoy 5% extra off if you're looking at buying the Platinum. Now, quickly, the pros and cons of the Mavic 2 Pro versus some of the other ones. I have a ton of videos on this Mavic 2 Pro, so make sure you guys check that out. But of course, sensor size. So if you're looking at upgrading or having a larger sensor, if you're very familiar with video and very familiar with photography, sensor size does mean a big deal. So you're going to want to bump that up. I personally do a lot of photos, so I want that bigger sensor size, higher quality photos, larger photos, and not just higher quality, but also larger canvas size photos versus some of the other ones. More pros of the Mavic 2, it has all around optical sensing. So it has sensors on the back, has sensors on the top, on the bottom, even on the sides right here. So like I said earlier, if you're doing some closer proximity types of video or photos and you want to depend on some of the sensors to help you and assist you when you're doing it, you definitely want to look into something like this. There's a lot of flyers that also fly like say indoors and you're going to have some obstacles around you. This also has APAS, so you're able to fly towards the subject just like the Mavic Air. It'll automatically fly around. So all those features are also included on something like this. Now, all the pluses very similar to the Platinum. It's very, very quiet. It does have the low noise propellers. It does have a battery life of up to 31 minutes, so a little bit longer than a Platinum. I did do a battery test on these two itself, and very similar. You're gonna get about 25 minutes of usable flight time, which I believe is just an amazing amount of flight time, considering it's heavier than a Platinum, considering it has a bigger camera than that, but you're getting the same amount of flight time. That's just a pretty big deal. And then the third thing is very similar to the Platinum, OcuSync 2. This thing is rated for 5 miles in distance, which means if I'm flying a mile away or 2 miles away, which is probably a little bit more accurate and more realistic, I know that I'm not going to have any fallout or any dropout as far as transmission goes, where you might be flying something like, you know, the Air and the Spark, 1,000 feet away. You might have a little bit of interference, a little bit of dropout. Now, who's the Mavic 2 Pro for? Now, first and foremost, I would say it's for someone that's going to be possibly upgrading from one of these other drones. But if this is your first drone and you are an existing photographer, existing videographer, and you're going to need that higher quality video, larger photos, higher quality photos right off the bat, and this is your first drone, definitely this is the avenue you want to take if you can afford it. Now, this is definitely not the cheapest drone on the market. When you add in $1,500 plus extra batteries plus the kit, I mean, you're pushing the $2,000 range. So you know, definitely on the higher scale of things. But if you're an existing photographer and you know you need that higher end quality, you understand the specs, then definitely this is the type of drone that you're going to want to get into. So there it is, guys. Just 5 compact drones to get you guys started, a little bit understanding of how I've been using them, who I think they're for, some of the deals that are coming out right now for Black Friday. Like I mentioned, if you're into something like the Mavic Pro Platinum, I do have 5 coupons. I'll be leaving those down below in the description. If you're looking at getting a Platinum, it gives you an extra 5% off of that one. So there's a little bit here for everybody. This video is really just to give you a little bit of taste of my experience. You guys might have your own experience with it, and I'm sure you guys are going to leave that in the comment. And actually, if you can, leave those in the comments down below. If you guys have watched this video till the end, let me know what your guys' thoughts. These are all just my opinions from owning these drones, how I've been able to use them for the past couple years, and where I think that they stand as far as what I'm going to need them for what I'm shooting. Like I said earlier in the intro of my video, These are all just tools, how you use it, how you fly, how you compose a shot, how good of a pilot you are, how understanding of post-processing you are. You have to take all of that into consideration here. These are all literally flying cameras. These are all just tools for the trade. Don't get too caught up in all of the functions, the smart modes. And don't forget, Black Friday is around the corner. Make sure you guys check out all the deals. I'll leave all those links down below for you to see what's on Black Friday deal from DJI. But of course, if you guys got value from my video, don't forget to smash that like button, hit subscribe if you haven't already. There's a little bell there. Hit that bell to be notified when I post new videos. This is Aldrin Estacio with FlytPath.com. Hope everyone has a great holiday. Make sure you guys check out those deals. I'll see you in the next video. Take care.